Heat up your frozen dinners, grab your TV tray, and settle in for another episode of the Plus Platoon, your podcast for all things Disney Plus, brought to you by Disney Plus fans. Watch along with us every week as we cover all the new, the old, the good, and the bad on Disney Plus. So put down that remote, don't touch that dial, and welcome your fabulous Plus Platoon host.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Plus Platoon. My name is Derek, and I'm one of the members. The Plus Platoon is a Disney Plus fan podcast that gives honest, spoiler-filled reviews of movies and shows on Disney Plus. We look at new releases, coming attractions, and we'll even go back into the vault to revisit some of the classic Disney that's on the platform. Make sure you're subscribed so you'll never miss a moment. So, with the rest of the platoon, I would like to bring in this week, our producer is coming on screen, Gina. Gina, how you doing this evening?
Hi, I'm doing really well. I'm excited to talk about Ant-Man, and I'm excited to talk about the new Doogie reboot.
Yeah, should be some interesting things we saw this week.
Yes.
Next, we have Peter. Pete, how's your evening?
Oh, you're muted.
Yeah. I'm muted. Sorry. Yeah, I'm excited because Derek picked my movie here. So I'm excited to see if I was able to pick something that he liked, because that was the whole point of this. So if he doesn't like it, then I still failed.
And last this week, we have Sam. Sam, what's going on?
Hey everyone, not much, just excited to be here. Excited to hear Derek's review of Ant-Man. Like Pete said, Pete was the winner last week in that Derek picked his movie pick. However, we don't know if Pete's the true winner or the big loser, because if Derek didn't like it, then I'd say that makes Pete just the biggest of losers instead of the big winner. So excited to see that.
Yeah, we'll find out here in a little bit. But first, we've got this week Sam with Disney Plus News. Sam, what have we got going on this week?
Disney Plus News. So there's a lot to talk about this week in the news category. The Muppet Haunted Mansion movie is going to be released on October 8th, which was a week after it was originally advertised. That's the same week that Black Widow is coming to Disney Plus for everyone, meaning it's coming off of premium and onto the regular subscription service. Hawkeye released its trailer this week with the tagline, "This holiday season, the best gifts come with a bow." I'm looking forward to that. And that's going to premiere on November 24th. That is a series, not a movie. Another movie, Disney's Encanto, an animated film featuring songs by Lin-Manuel Miranda, will be released in theaters on November 24th, but it will be coming to Disney Plus free on Christmas Eve, meaning it will be on your regular subscription rather than premium. Disney also announced that it will be doing theater-only releases for the remainder of the 2021 movies being released. These will all have a 45-day window in the theaters before they're going to be brought to Disney Plus. Presumably that means on regular subscription and not on premium. Also coming out, Sister Act 3. It will be a dual release in theaters and on Disney Plus premiere in 2022. And most of the original cast from the Sister Act movies is going to return. And last, but certainly not least, we found out this week that High School Musical, the series, has been extended for a season 3. So it will be coming back to Disney Plus real soon. Back to you, Derek.
I might say that last one may be very well laced of all of that.
But so much to look forward to.
So much, right?
Everything. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Muppets is coming out really soon. The Muppet, and I'm sure, I know we're all excited for that one. And I mean, there's just a lot out there. I'm actually surprised that I didn't know about the new Lin-Manuel Miranda and Encanto, because he just had released on Netflix Vivo, which was wonderful. I know it's not Disney Plus, but you guys, it's a really fantastic animated film. So there's just a lot. He did Moana and obviously Hamilton, and so that's something to really look forward to. Just lots.
The trailer for Encanto is out there, so if you haven't seen it, check it out. It does look pretty good.
Yeah. And the premise behind it is basically everyone is magical in this village except for one girl.
Yes.
So And Ryan did say, that Hawkeye trailer, that was,
Mhm.
if the show is as funny as the trailer makes it look, it could be a lot of fun.
Yep.
I'm
So-
surprised that Haley Steinfeld is going to be the new Hawkeye. That was just not something I was expecting. Definitely was expecting a younger female, but just was not expecting her.
Now, does that become part of Young Avengers, or is she?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I know. We
Well,
can
Presumably,
guess.
yeah.
In
And
the
we
comics, it does
guessing,
anyway.
right?
Yeah.
We don't.
We're all assuming, yeah.
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 We don't. But she could end up in like the regular Marvel universe. The multiverse. We don't know exactly
Yeah.
where she's going to fit into
Okay.
other stuff. Yeah,
So,
we'll see.
as has been previewed last week, we had the challenge of finding a Marvel movie that I would like. I am a Marvel skeptic. Let's put it that direction. And they each pitched an idea, and I chose Pete's idea, which was Ant-Man.
Yep.
So the first question is, was this Avenger-Worthy? To me, this has many Avenger-worthy points. Definitely had the moments of humor that was promised. I really liked Michael Douglas's one-liners in this. Those were great. There were times of me actually laughing out loud, like when the security guard friend started whistling "It's a Small World" when he was shrunk down. That was just one of those, okay. I did like the lack of big, super long fight scenes. So that those are basically in every other Marvel movie. And to me, those always drag. So these didn't have it. Pacing was okay. There's one notable exception that I'll mention later, but for the pacing was okay. Totally agree. I did not need to know anything else about any other Marvel movies other than there are Avengers. Okay? I watched this movie with my wife, who is also not a huge Marvel fan, probably knows less about the universe than I do. And even when Falcon shows up and my wife didn't know who he was, it wasn't necessary since she knew that the big A meant Avengers. So she assumed he was an Avenger. The mid-credit scene drew both my wife and I into wanting to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp. The end of credit scene was mostly lost on me and totally lost on my wife. I knew who the characters all were. She didn't, and could put it together a little bit. I'm guessing this leads into Civil War, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I caught the phrase "the Accords." They couldn't contact Stark. I think I'm probably going to need to see Civil War at least before Ant-Man and the Wasp. Am I correct on that?
No.
No.
Ant-Man and
Okay.
the Wasp is kind of its own separate thing, but
Okay.
all of that eventually ties into Infinity War and Endgame. And so
Right. Yeah.
that's kind of Ant-Man and the Wasp leads into that part.
Yeah.
So
more towards Infinity War and more,
Okay.
way more in Endgame. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't need to see Civil War first.
No.
Okay. Okay.
You could
Well-
see Ant-Man and the Wasp right now, and you would
Yeah.
be
Fine.
fine.
Okay.
The only
Yeah.
thing you need to know is that Ant-Man helped
Helped
Steve
Captain.
Rogers.
He was on the captain's side. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he was under, like at the beginning of Ant-Man and the Wasp, he's under arrest, or he's under house arrest because of that. And that's
Okay.
kind of it. The rest of the movie is nothing to do with the other Avengers stuff.
Okay. So that's what I thought was Avenger-worthy for this.
Yeah.
Gina,
Great.
What are your thoughts?
So I'm pinch hitting. So this is from my memory banks, but I really love the character of the daughter. The daughter character is probably my favorite person. She brings the levity. She makes Paul Rudd seem human, and he makes mistakes, even though he's kind of Keystone Cop-ish. She makes him more normal.
Mhm.
I love Michael Douglas in this. I just think he's fabulous, and I like the Michelle Pfeiffer little cameo. So that's my Avenger worthiness. And then I remember last week that you don't have all these long, drawn out fight scenes. So that makes it even better because you want to watch what happens, especially in that house with the big and the small. I just love the shrinking and the growing. So
Okay.
that's the fun part. Anyway, Pete.
Yeah.
Well, obviously I picked this movie, but I rewatched it and I hadn't seen it in a few years. And actually it was probably even a little better than I remembered. It's still probably middle of the Marvel set for me, but I still, I that still is a good movie. It's a very good movie. And I agree. That's one of the things I like, is that there isn't any big giant. We went and saw Shang-Chi this weekend, and I did enjoy it, but the end of it is this big overblown fight like there is in so many Marvel movies, and those get tiring to me after a while. And the end fight in this movie didn't really go on too long, and it still had the humor. I love when they're like on the Thomas the Train Engine track.
Yeah, I love that. I love the growing and the shrinking.
Train's coming, he's like, ah, and then they just show the train go. So I like the way this movie is paced. It's not one of the big important Marvel movies, but it's a lot of fun. So Sam?
Yeah, I agree with, I would say, everything that's been said. I really like this movie. It's not my favorite of the Marvel movies, but it kind of falls somewhere in the middle of the pack. It's definitely not at the bottom of the list either. It is funny. It has the great heist scene we talked about earlier. I think that's part of the fun of this movie is, frankly, the first heist where they're first breaking into Michael Douglas's house and they don't know that they're breaking into Michael Douglas's house. I really love the supporting cast in this movie. And by that, I mean, I love T.I. in this movie. The rapper he's wonderful. I love Michael Pena in this movie, who is the, sort of funny sidekick of Paul Rudd, who's kind of the idiot of the bunch. I love Bobby Cannavale, who plays the new husband of the ex-wife.
Oh yes,
or boyfriend of the ex-wife. I wish he had a bigger role. He's also wonderful as he plays a really great bad guy in, what was that Atlantic City show from, I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, Boardwalk Empire. Thank you. He plays a really good bad guy. I kind of wish he was the bad guy in this movie. I'll talk about this later, but I'm not the biggest fan of the villain in this movie, or the sort of how that all plays out. I think the better parts of this movie are the heist and the interactions between Scott Lang, the main character Paul Rudd plays, and his friends, and with Michael Douglas and Evangeline Lilly. Those are the best scenes. Not to me, the fight scenes and the evil guy are not the most fun part of this movie. Yeah.
And as Steve says, it's Marvel light, less fights, but more funny.
Yes. Perfect. That's a perfect description, Steve.
So now, not everything was great. There's some stuff that should disappear back into the quantum realm. Okay. For me, the ending reminded me of Happily Ever After at the Magic Kingdom. In that show, they missed the opportunity for a better ending. Have Tink fly somewhere else and end with Go the Distance. Don't put the coda on the end, because Go the Distance is the big climactic finale. This is similar. It should have ended about 5 minutes before it really did. The ending gave a couple of funny moments. I loved the huge Thomas the Train, and the ant dog was funny, but they could have kidnapped the girl earlier. I thought they were going to kidnap her and show that she was kidnapped when they were still in the vault. That's when I would have had it show up. Or have the girl in the helicopter, or don't have the girl kidnapped. Just make it so that he still knows he has to do this for his daughter. They could have done that without her kidnapping it. They could have shrunk him down to the quantum realm at any point. I will say, though, that's about my only criticism of this. So the ending.
Wow. High praise from Derek. Wow.
Yeah.
So Gina, what for you could go away?
So let's see. I have to remember. I agree with Sam on the villain. I don't even remember the villain character. I do agree with you that I think that the boyfriend would have been a better villain, because he's way more memorable. Like you can remember him. I don't even remember the villain. I don't even care that much about it. It could have just been the whole thing of Scott Lang learning how to operate the suit and learning how to be Ant-Man as a great origin story, and having the fight at the end using his powers. You didn't even need the storyline. You just needed how he became Ant-Man, in my opinion. So that's the one thing, is the whole sidebar villain story you don't need.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to agree with you that it's a weak villain. His motivation is meh. I mean, a lot of Marvel movies do this, which is to try to tie the villain to the hero. And in this case, he's not tied to the actual
At
hero.
all.
He's tied
At
to
all.
Hank Pym.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that was very effective, and it made for a less interesting final fight. I will say I don't think the final fight goes on too long. I mean, there's kind of two of them, but it isn't so long that you start really wanting it to be over. But it's not the best either. I would agree. Yeah. The other weakness to the movie is I think I understand why, but Evangeline, what's her name?
Evangeline
Lilly.
Yeah. Evangeline
is like super underused in this movie, and I understand the whole idea was Hank was afraid to let her get involved in the suit, and then at the very end he's like, I've changed my mind, here you go. And she's much I forgive that because she's much more involved in the second movie, and in fact she's much more competent than Paul Rudd's character in the second movie.
Definitely.
So she's a lot of fun
in the first movie too. She
right.
was more competent than him.
She's more competent than him in all. Yeah,
yes.
in all.
Yeah. Oh yeah, certainly. But she doesn't do much in this movie. She just kind of stands around a lot. And it's a little disappointing if you watch this movie on its own. But if you get to the second movie, you see she gets a lot more involved with the fights and everything like that. So those are really my only two complaints about the movie.
Yeah.
I think it could have had a better ending.
Agreed.
So Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, so I have to agree with everything that's been said again. But the only thing I would add is, so Corey Stoll plays Darren Cross. He's the villain.
Oh yeah.
And Corey Stoll is actually a fantastic actor. He was wonderful in House of Cards. If any of you watched that show, he played a congressman in that one and was fantastic in it. So I felt like they just didn't give him good character development. I just feel like the villain in this movie, they could have given us a better backstory about his motivations. And then, I think that the way they try and tie this into Hydra, where he's trying to sell this technology to Hydra, I hated that. Like, why? It doesn't need to be linked into Hydra. It was a weak link to the other films. And like Gina said, this is an origin story. It doesn't have to link in yet to the other films, because later Ant-Man ends up, working in Civil War, and later, Ant-Man ends up being trapped in the quantum realm and then eventually gets out to help in Endgame. So, there's other tie-ins for Ant-Man that happen in the MCU that I know Derek doesn't even know about that happen later. But I just didn't like that they tried to tie this into Hydra at the end of this movie. It just doesn't. I don't think it works. I don't think it was necessary. I just, like I said, really the issue with this movie is it has a weak villain and villain story.
I would even say they had already tied it into the other Avengers when he fights Falcon.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's enough.
Yeah, that's all you need to know. Exactly.
Because, oh, by the way, I'm selling this to Hydra. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Huh? What?
Right.
Okay, they didn't get it. Okay, we didn't figure they would. So. Yeah, I mean,
well, and it just doesn't, because it's an origin story, it doesn't need to tie in really at all, because he ends up tying in later movies. You just don't need to tie in his origin story. Not all of the other ones tie into each other. I mean, obviously, Iron Man being the first, he doesn't tie into anybody in his origin story. It's just not. It's just not necessary.
Same with Captain America. Captain America doesn't tie into Iron Man at all. It's just an origin. Yeah. Anyway.
Right.
So, as we always do, we are going to rate this out of 5 cups of pixie dust. So, I'm going to start this one with Gina.
Yes.
How many cups of pixie dust out of 5?
So, it's memorable enough, but it's not in my top 5. So, this is a solid 3. Because my top 5 are like Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy. Even old school original OG Iron Man is up there higher than this. So this is a solid 3. It's not the worst, but it's not the top either.
Okay.
Pete, how about you?
Yeah, I would have probably given it a 3 if I hadn't rewatched it, but I'm going to give it a 3.5. I actually like it better than the original Iron Man, and probably Iron Man 2 as well. So it is probably, as I say, towards the middle. It's definitely not at the top of the list. But there are, I could easily list at least 10 Marvel movies that I would rate lower than this one.
True.
So, it's kind of in the middle, which for Marvel is a pretty good
pretty
movie.
good.
So
Great.
I
Still
would
a
call
great
it a
movie.
3.5. It's not a great movie, but it's a very good one.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go with Pete on this. I mean, this is no Black Panther, don't get me wrong, and this is no Guardians of the Galaxy, don't get me wrong on that either. But this is a good Marvel movie, really fun. I'll watch it again. I have watched it again multiple times. If I'm just kind of sitting around and want to put on something fun, this is a good one to watch. So, Pete, what were you saying?
I was just going to say, and the one other thing is that at the end of it, I wanted to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is a successful movie if it makes you want to watch the next one.
That's true.
Right?
Yes. And for me, then it sends me down the binging of I want to watch, I want to watch Infinity War, and then I want to watch Endgame. So I want to watch. Yeah, I feel you on that, Pete. I think it does set up nicely for its sequel and for other movies down the road. Derek?
Okay. With the qualifier that so far I have given the Avengers a 2.5 and I have given Loki a 1.
Okay.
Ant-Man gets a 3.5 from me.
Wow, that's high.
So,
that's really high.
I think I win.
High praise.
Pete, I set certain requirements out there. I had always discarded this as, this is not a normal Marvel movie. So I just thought, it's not a Marvel movie. Well, for me, that makes it good, apparently. So, Pete, job well done. You were successful.
Pete, I bow to your prowess in a movie selection for Derek.
Now, sadly, we don't have time for an acceptance speech. So,
moving right along.
The other thing that came out this week was Doogie Kamealoha. It is a Doogie Howser reboot with a young lady who's a doctor in Hawaii. So, I believe, Sam, is this series in good health or is it in critical condition?
Okay. It's not in critical condition. It's in, let's call it decent health. I don't know if I want to say it's in tip-top shape, but this is a cute series. It's going to be, for your kind of preteen crowd. I'm not the target audience. Neither are the rest of the platoon. We're definitely not the target audience, but this will be like a fun preteen, that the whole family can enjoy type show. So it's not bad. It's not in critical condition. It's not about to die, but it's cute and it's kind of cheesy. And, is it going to be my favorite thing to watch? No, I don't think so. But would I watch it again? Sure, I guess. In particular to review for this show. What did you think, Derek?
I would say it's hard to diagnose for me. While I was watching it, I was not getting into it. I think I mentioned to someone that it came across me as a big shot trying to be funny.
Yes.
They play up a bunch of teen comma drama ideas, complete with the younger brother liking the best friend who likes the older brother who doesn't know she exists. There was even the Full House music after the patient died.
Yes. I noticed that.
Don't get me started on the stock characters in the hospital staff. Those are just so one-liners. On a side note, Barry Bostwick has looked better.
Oh my God, absolutely.
I didn't recognize him.
Brian was like, where do I know that guy from? And I'm like, and I figured I couldn't remember his name, but I looked him up right away and I was like, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Because I looked at him and I went, no, that can't be. It is.
It was,
so
he looked terrible.
It was interesting though that at the end I wanted to watch another episode. It had enough comedy.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the intro scene where they pull up to the accident and she basically says, no, I'm a doctor and do this for me.
Yeah.
For now, I would say it's still in fair condition. I'm not convinced the whole season's going to escape needing intensive medical care. But for me right now, it's okay. Gina?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I loved Doogie Howser, MD. I'm the same age as Neil Patrick Harris. We were in high school together. Well, I was in high school. He was a doctor. So I felt like this was an homage to that time period in my life. And even the intro was identical. And I got a little misty because I'm like, it's the same. And then at the end, they actually acknowledged Stephen Bochco. And I texted my friend. I said, Stephen Bochco died? She's like, yeah, he died like 10 years ago. Where have you been? I was like, I haven't seen anything. I forget. So I really enjoyed that. That's for the parents. They did that for us. So I really like that. It's very preteen. I teach second grade. This is perfect for them. So I don't mind watching it on the weekly to tell the kids, hey, did you watch Doogie? And then we can discuss something that's age appropriate and talking about that kind of thing. And I was comparing her the whole time to Neil Patrick Harris. Oh, okay. They're both 16. They both have the Wanda character. So she had Wanda. She has Walter. I was like, oh, they even picked a W name.
Yeah.
So
and the best friend who climbs in the window.
Yes, and the best friend. So a lot of the things I liked that for the parents. So I will watch it, like I said, for the 7-year-olds in my life who I can discuss with. Anyway, Pete, what about you?
I think I declare that I was medically bored to death by this show.
I can see why.
I didn't really care for it. I never really watched Doogie Howser. I was aware of it, but I was a little too old to care about the show.
Oh.
And I don't know. I just found this. I mean, I actually I like seeing Jason Scott Lee as the dad. He's always pretty good. He was recently in Mulan. He was the bad guy in Mulan. And
that's right.
And the mom is also in Big Shot. She's the girlfriend in Big Shot. But I just kind of like I just was very bored by it. And I actually I thought the lead character, I'll give this. I thought the lead character, she was a very good actress. She played all the emotions that she had to go through very well. And you know, I can see where it would appeal to a certain group, but to me, I liked it even less than Big Shot, and I don't think I would watch it again.
Okay.
No. And I wouldn't expect you to, especially your daughter's out of the age, you're out of the age. It's basically for people in their 40s who grew up with Doogie and now have teenagers themselves.
Yeah. And I didn't watch Doogie. I never watched Doogie, and I still, this is okay.
Oh,
But
so
you have a
I
teenager.
watched. Yeah, so I watched Doogie like Gina, and I did appreciate some of the nods to the old show. For example, the theme song is just a remake of the original theme song. He wrote a computer diary, and she's doing a computer vlog. So I liked those nods. I liked the friend climbing in the window. Obviously the love interest in Wanda and now Walter, and so I did think there were some good nods, and so those were the things I agree with Gina that made me smile. And I have to say, Derek, I agree with you. After watching, Brian turned to me and said, "Oh, is there only one episode?" So we were both kind of ready to sit and watch a couple of episodes. Despite the fact that I would say I didn't love it, it kept my attention, and I would have watched 2 or 3 episodes had there been more to watch. That's one of the things I wonder how Disney decides when they're going to release something in multiple episodes versus releasing something a single episode at a time.
I think the better stuff they release single episode at a time.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
Big Shot was every week.
Well, yeah. But it was John Stamos. They were paying him enough money. They had to. So, yeah. Guys, next week we've got Diamonds in the Rough coming up. We have 2 of them, guys. One of them suggested by the Platoon members. One of them is from one of you guys out there in the audience. So we are going to be watching both Howard, which is the documentary about Howard Ashman, who the composer for Disney, and we're going to be watching the National Geographic series Race to the Center of the Earth, which is one of those reality show races where there's teams in different parts of the country and they have to try and get to one area fastest. So I will say I've watched a little spoiler on that. I've watched the very first episode of that, and it's interesting. It's fair. I will say the competition is fair. Whether the show is good, we will wait till next week. But they actually go to an extent to make sure the competition is fair. So we've got those two coming up next week. Guys, please go onto your favorite podcast service and subscribe to us. Then if you could leave us a 5-star review, especially on Apple, so we can get more Platoon recruits. We were recently left this review by one of our fans. I've been watching live streams of Plus Platoon for a while now. Found it through the My DVC Points podcast. So happy they are now on Apple Podcasts. While I largely disagree with Derek, who doesn't?
Right.
I love the interaction across the whole platoon. Kate is so fun and dynamic. Also loves the perspectives from Rebecca, Sam, and Pete. Keep up the good work.
Wow, that was so nice to all of us.
Yeah.
I love it.
And,
Thank you, reviewer.
And for writing that review, we're going to be sending you some Plus Platoon swag that we will be debuting very, very soon. So
Yay.
write us a review. If we read it on air, we'll send you some Plus Platoon gear. With that being said, everyone, I want to say thank you to Gina for stepping in with us.
Thanks, Gina.
Thanks for letting me pinch hit.
We love having our producer on camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we will see everyone next week. So bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Plus Platoon. Be sure to subscribe to the Plus Platoon podcast to keep getting great content each week. Then head over to Apple Podcast and leave those 5-star reviews as they help make the Plus Platoon visible to even more Disney Plus fans. Also, go to YouTube and like and subscribe to the Plus Platoon channel, where you can watch all future episodes live. If you have a question for the Plus Platoon, please send us an email to plusplatoon@gmail.com or connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram @PlusPlatoon.
The Plus Platoon is a Disney Plus fan podcast and is not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company or the Disney Plus streaming service. All opinions expressed on the show are solely those of the individual hosts and in no way reflect the views of the Walt Disney Company.
Thanks for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for next week's episode because the Plus Platoon is to be continued.